Rhonda needs you.
Hi.
It would. It's time to get you here. Let me go.
Chilly this morning.
Chilly.
Just a little bit. Oh, I didn't even see him.
Good morning.
Good morning. I love that. I'll take. He was just working with me sitting.
Yes. Trust me, I tried it so many times.
It was,
I think it'll do it.
okay, I was changing phone number.
Then we'll send the code to me.
How you walk past me and I?
Terrence, what? I just told you need you. What in the world? I said Rhonda needs you.
It's cold outside. I think we got it though.
Y'all got it?
I think we got it. I think.
Okay. Well, where do you went?
It's cold outside. We gonna put it on.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I didn't know that. I wasn't doing that last time.
We gonna put it. We gonna put it on the cold.
You're way ahead of me because you're where you are. You know, at City Hall.
Good morning, Mr. Michael. How you
Good morning,
doing?
just fine, good to see you. So I'm gonna take a lot of leave for you. And, well, what I'm saying is I'm not going to, I'll say what I have to say, but I'm not gonna.
Oh, yeah, I have, there's.
Hello.
Are you hello? So I think the last name is Eden. I got a couple of church meetings. One is Lawrence. That's married to a young lady.
I was doing like 3 or 4 things.
You're doing,
Sorry.
you're doing great.
So Terrence probably needed you.
Your eyesight okay?
Yes,
Did you spend time
yes.
Find everything.
Now
Good
they-
deal.
Oh, yeah, because they go to church, his last name is Eden. And I was like, when I.
Did you not see me
I
sitting
asked
there?
that question to you.
Oh.
Mine at 30%.
Yeah,
No,
because,
It
you know,
could be cousins.
yeah.
I think we got it. She was trying to change her
I agree.
password on her,
Yeah, I just need
no,
her.
just on
image.
the iPad itself.
Okay.
So she was just trying to, did it work?
It worked. I'm telling you, don't underestimate your
Girl
energy
power.
now.
She just walked right past us like we wasn't even sitting.
When I tried this, I have tried this over
I'm
and over
good.
again, and it would not work.
I like your sign in, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's so easy. Even caveman can do it.
So I either do that one or 142536.
No,
That's our IT
I don't have to
right
change
there.
anything.
Yeah,
It
that-
just, it worked. All I ask for technology is, will it work when I
Will
turn
it
it on?
work, will it work how you want it to, that's it.
I got my username and password saved over here and in here.
Oh, that's good, cause I
Multiple
had to
places.
write mine down, I can't.
Multiple places.
I can't, this up here don't work.
I try to remember them all, so.
You try, what? And then they tell you not to use the same one on different websites. You want to eat any coffee?
I'm good. Hey, would you like some coffee? I bet you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
I don't drink coffee, but I know a lot of people can't live without it.
Can't live without it.
Good morning, Miss Emma. How you doing, ma'am?
I'm a little underdressed, but it's so darn cold.
Oh, understood. You fine, you fine.
Good to see you. Looking good.
Thank you.
One of the hazards of being retired is I really like being dressed down a little.
Oh, my God. Nothing we can lean this way. It smells very good.
Is this like a committee of the whole right
Make
now?
sure it's make
Because we're not breaking into individual.
That's the stuff you say you don't wear.
I mean, I know we are, you and I are on the same committee.
Yeah.
To
I saw that.
my understanding, I think it's like committee of the whole where they're dealing with.
And I got my sack.
Well, no, because you know, we have the individual committee meetings,
Yes.
and I guess they're doing a collaboration of all of it.
So that's, this one today is a collaboration, because I know at some point in time, there'll be, what, 3 or 4 of us on the committee.
Yeah, but I think to my understanding, they're gonna handle each committee by themselves, like they'll start with the finance and administration,
Oh,
and
okay,
then with those
okay.
issues, then go down to the next
Okay.
committee. That's what
No, it ain't nothing.
I was actually gonna try to.
And I liked your suggestions. I saw what you sent. It's good stuff.
Okay, yeah.
This is sometimes I'm trying to understand what should go with us and what is it that they handle on their
We make
administrative side?
suggestions to
Yeah,
them.
we're still doing it.
It's my understanding of how the board works is we also kind of oversee them, but this is a whole bunch of professionals. I don't really want to tell them how to run a bus company. I'm not in the transportation business. This is what they do. We can make suggestions and point some direction, but I'm not gonna tell the executive director how to, I mean, I'm not a micromanager.
Yeah.
I'm not a micromanager. This is, I'm on the board of one other nonprofit, but they are broke. This company, this is not broke. I mean, it depends on how the funding works out, but they're not totally dependent on federal funds.
Yeah,
not
I mean,
even
it's a
close.
completely, I'm on 2 other boards as well, but it's completely different.
Uh-huh.
I mean,
Oh,
it's
yeah.
like
Oh, yeah.
a corporation compared to
Uh-huh. This is a big
a
deal.
self-owned, not even a mom and pop store, something you're doing at your house. It's the other 2 boards that
I
I'm
did
on.
buy a suit for Chief Walker.
So
I'm pleased to be sitting next to you and being on the same board.
I feel the same.
Oh, yeah.
I'm excited. I put it up so much, I mean, it just came in and
Did you put in for some of those, the out-of-town things?
I did.
Which ones?
I did.
I wanted to go to DC, but I can't. My daughter's getting married on the
have a question.
Okay.
So when I'm trying to change the password,
So-
and it's asking me for the current password, it's not what it wants to be for process, and it's saying it's not the right password.
So you can have it.
Okay, password or change the
I mean,
password that I
okay,
should be
true.
trying to change, right?
Because I don't have
committee meetings today. Our chair of the finance committee is not here, and we don't have a quorum for the finance committee, so we're gonna modify today. We're gonna start out with planning, with the planning and program development committee, followed by the operations committee, because we do have a quorum, as well as members are here for those two committees. And then we'll wrap up the finance committee, but the finance committee will be for informational purposes only. So that being said, I just want to make that announcement, and I will now turn it over to you, Mr. Chairman of the Planning and Program and Development Committee.
Welcome, everybody. We're gonna go ahead and start the planning and program development committee meeting for Thursday, February 20th, 2025. We have some new members in our planning committee, and that's Michael Fagan and Michelle Emmett. Friedman?
Flegel.
Flegel.
That's okay.
Get it right.
Sorry,
Get it right.
I get it right. And I wanted to welcome them to the new committee. All right. Can we have a roll call?
Yes, sir. Good morning. Director Flegel,
Present.
Director Inman. Committee Chair Smith,
President.
Committee Chair, you do have one.
We need a motion to adopt the agenda.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and properly second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We need to adopt the minutes of February the 22nd, 2024. I'm pretty sure they weren't present, but we will move to adopt those minutes.
So moved.
Second.
And a second.
This is gonna be an easy.
There you go.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay, those minutes have been approved. All right, we need the executive director's report.
Good morning. So we have new audio and mics. Are you enjoying the new mics? Hopefully you can hear now and speak them. Well, let me say this. We got several things coming up, and I'll give probably opening remarks for each committee. Now, capital, again, we have a lot of activity that's going to be coming up in the next several months. Of course, as you know, our One facility again has been, the land has been purchased, and Martangi will give you more information on your, in her update. But remember, you can always go to your board portal if you want to see the status of any capital program. Please go to your board portal, and you can look it up by the name of the project and get current information on the status of the cost and where we are in the project cycle, so that you're always up to date on any project in case anyone has any questions. And then the only other thing is that, unfortunately, I do apologize for having to shift the board retreat, but I did find out that the TOD meeting is going to be, water is going to be accommodating Birmingham, and not just BJCTA, but other nonprofits and organizations that we may be considering partnering with for TOD activities in Atlanta next Thursday. And talking to some of the other executive directors, they thought it was necessary for me to be there on behalf of BJCTA as well as the team. So I did not want to miss that, and I do appreciate you all been willing to work with your schedules, and we probably will move that time sometime in April versus March. We had the last retreat sometime in April, so we'll do that again sometime in April. And after today, after this meeting this morning, I'm gonna send you all an email with some possible dates, and you all let me know your dates that you're available as well. So with that said, I think that's enough on the planning side. I don't think I missed any other thing that's coming up on the planning side that Watanji can include in her report.
Any other information?
No, it'll be updated in Watanji's report next.
Capital and planning update?
All right, good morning, Board of Directors. Talk
capital updates. As you all know, the board passed a $17.5 million capital budget for fiscal year 25. So we're working to get a lot of those projects moving. I'll talk about a couple of updates, as Director Shaw has mentioned about a TOD. So we have been having several meetings with our kickoff team, our team including that's Woodlawn United, Real Birmingham, and of course our BJCTA staff and our consultant, Ms. Helen McSwain Group. We'll be visiting the TOD MARTA sites on next Thursday. I think we're visiting 4 sites. That's the Kensington Station, we're visiting Chandler Park, Martin Luther King, and the Avondale Station on next Thursday. Also with that, I'll be attending a ULI housing conference on next Tuesday and Wednesday to kind of learn a little bit more about the housing market as relates to transit-oriented development. We'll have a little more information about this. I want to put this on your calendar as a save the date. We'll have a TOD Industry Day that is scheduled for April the 10th. So put that on your calendars, but more information will be coming from Ms. Rhonda and her team for the board. It's a save the date. Mobile app, Project Pivot, just giving a small update about this because we're still in evaluation mode. I think the team is meeting with all of the vendors right now to do final evaluation. So when that information is available, we'll come back to the board to give further information about mobile app. Fare collection as well. The team, after mobile app is completed, will be getting ready to do an RFP for fare collection. So that is also coming in the near future. O&M facility. So as you know, Board of Directors, we purchased the land back in November of 2024. Our upcoming goals right now, we have already put together, and we're working with our kickoff meeting right now, and we'll have that information for the board coming soon as well. We're working with the project management team to include all of our consultants, sub-consultants, to be included with this. I think it's gonna take place somewhere in the month of March. So we'll have you all send that information out as well. Your board portal, as Director Shaw talked about the SharePoint. Please make sure to look at your board portal. Inside of there, you have a capital improvement program 5-year report. And this is what it's look like. So what it does, every month, about a certain time, we have this update in your portal. And what it does, it has your year-to-date budget for your capital program as well as your actual. So you can keep up with and track how all of your capital projects are moving within the organization. It'll tell you by phase where the project is located, if it's in implementation phase, if it's in the procurement phase, or if it's in planning phase. It'll let you know that. And if you have any questions related to this document, just let me know. And I missed anything else, Director Shaw? I think I talked about some of the key things. Planning. So let's talk a little bit about planning. My planning manager, she's in the other room with the other EOT staff. But right now, you have in your board report some changes that were made to some of the routes. Last year in October, we implemented a Route 20, kind of a pilot program where we had a 20 bus that goes through the Kingston and Woodlawn community, goes to the airport. We still had that bus operating in October, but we implemented a microtransit zone as well. We wanted to get our riders accustomed to learning how to navigate the microtransit system. So when we went back, we did a lot of public meetings. We went before the City Council Transportation Committee to talk about the route changes. And in January 27th, that route is no longer available. It has now been reallocated to microtransit only. So the citizens that are living in the Kingston community, some parts of Inglenook, and then the airport, and then Woodlawn, they now can take the microtransit that is working very well to navigate around. The team is also working on May upcoming changes, and when those changes are done, we'll bring those things back to the board as well. Do y'all have any questions? All right.
You have any questions?
I have a couple.
Questions? Okay.
Just one request I have, if I may. Would you mind, since we don't have the full board here right now, that save the date for April the 10th, would you put that on our calendars for us, if that's okay, from a save the date standpoint?
Yes. All right, thank you so much.
Okay, I got a couple of questions.
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
One question is, we have the BRT is being funded by the city right now. Is that gonna transition at some point, or are we still looking at the transportation for that?
The BRT, it's funded. Yeah, they give us funding for that every.
Is that gonna continue?
Oh, yeah, for the BRT. As far as we know, I haven't heard of anything with the BRT. Now, VIA is working separately from us. They contracted directly to the city, but there are some conversations right now to transition that, as part of the 730 program, which is what, Montana just talked about, but the BRT was, and Linda showed that in his finance report where we did get, current fiscal year funding, and as far as I know, there's no change to that.
Are we in plans to expand the microtransit zone?
Yes, and so the 70-30 plan, which you'll hear more about at the board retreat, and there is an actual very large plan. Matter of fact, we have a status meeting every Thursday morning, and you can see this project report is about 10 to 20 pages long, this project schedule, but it is a very big undertaking, which means that we will be launching changes that you will know about prior to the launch. And like we did with 20. The 20 was a pilot before it actually got launched in January. But we actually had the pilot, but we discussed it with the board for that particular change because of the ridership. But we'll get more into detail with you about the 70-30 plan. Now, Nick will be discussing mobility and operations in the operations committee today. But he will talk about how the ridership for microtransit is going. And we're actually working on a very large marketing plan too for the 70-30 plan, which has not launched yet. So we're still in very much exploratory mode. We're working with our consultant, WRA, who is 50 years in the business, doing this, did it for various states, Georgia and some other places. But we have a whole huge team along with the city of Birmingham and other municipalities. So one of the ones we're talking about right now is Homewood. We just had a meeting with them yesterday, so we're pulling in our other municipalities. As you know, Vestavia chose not to come in this year. But Mountain Brook has launched, is a soft launch, so it really hasn't launched officially yet, but we're doing some pilot. And the pilot is a soft launch usually where we just quietly go out and it's word of mouth. We put some marketing information out there, just enough because we don't want people overloading the system yet. But when we officially launch, which will be probably in the next 60 days, 30 to 60 days, then you'll hear more about the Mountain Brook. And Mountain Brook really already had microtransit, but now it's going to be all day throughout the day with using one vehicle. So it is expanding, and you will continue to get updates on this, but we're gonna have a report for you as well that will condense where you won't get this 20-page document to show you what the plans are to launch where and when.
So you said Vestavia didn't opt in, they still have bus service?
Vestavia chose not to.
They still have bus service though, right?
They still have bus services, yes. Yes.
And one other question is, the facility that we have now, we're finna build a new one. What's the plans for the old one? Is it gonna be a secondary station? Or
For the CNG?
for the maintenance facility?
Hey, Captain, what's the plans?
Oh, 8th Avenue, we don't know yet. We have to do an assessment, and it's gonna depend on how much construction and infrastructure changes happen with the city of Birmingham around that area, because one of the reasons we have to move, the facility is very old, but that's not the only reason, because the infrastructure is so bad. When it rains over there, it floods everything in that whole area. So that is going to depend on, we have plans that we'd like to pursue for that eventually. And we have to talk about that, of course, with the board. You know, what's the next step? Because there are various options, and it's probably too early to talk about those options until we know more of what the city of Birmingham is going to do with that infrastructure problem, and make sure that they can fix it before we decide if we want to sell it or if we want to use it as a separate facility. Now, I've always been under the impression that it's not always good to have one facility, and have all your eggs in one basket, so to speak. So I'd like to see us keep it and be able to renovate it and do something great as a secondary maintenance facility.
All right, that's it.
Yeah, that's all.
Anybody, any other questions?
All right, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. We have no resolutions or considerations to, approve. Is there any information from any other departments?
I think that's it.
No unfinished business, any new business? We would like to adjourn the planning and development committee meeting.
Second. So moved. So moved.
So we're adjourned.
Still asleep.
Thank you.
Well, in the interest of time, we'll go ahead and move over to the Operations Committee. Our Chairman Cunningham was not able to make it today. So I will step in his shoes and serve as the temporary chairman for this particular meeting. So we can go ahead and call the Operations Committee meeting to order. Ms. Rhonda, would you do a roll call to establish a quorum?
Chair Cunningham. Director Davis.
Present.
Director Chair Jones.
Present, here.
You do have a quorum.
Thank you so much. Next, do we have a motion to adopt the agenda for the day? We move our second, so that agenda has been adopted. Moving forward, do we have a motion to approve the minutes from the July 25th, 2024 meeting? So I'm not sure if that's correct. Wow,
Okay,
so
I'm just to explain.
please do.
Anytime you have, like, the last one was February, anytime you have that delays because we didn't have a quorum
Got it. Okay.
before, so we haven't had time or we haven't had an opportunity to, adopt the minutes, so that's why that day shows it.
Do we have a motion to adopt the minutes from that meeting? Second that, so those minutes have been approved. Next, we'll move over to the executive director's report, which may or may not be any different.
It will for operations.
Okay, great.
So, again, we have a lot going on. One of the things that after, the senior director's update, Nick, our data analyst, as you know, we hired a data analyst. And we call him Nick, but I guess we should be calling him Dr. Nick, right? Because he does have a PhD. But, he has been very instrumental in helping us keep up with all of the changes and all of the additions and all of the things that we're doing on microtransit, BRT. We are now looking at all of the data for all the modes of transportation. We look at the ridership by segment, and by segment I mean by bus stop, by route, by modes, which BRT, which is fixed route. And we also look at now microtransit data. And he'll be sharing some of our microtransit information with you as well. And also, Will Taylor, our acting maintenance director, who is doing a fabulous job with our maintenance department, and it has come a long way with all kinds of efficiencies now. He has been working on our fleet plan, so we want to start preparing you the type of fleet we may have coming out of retirement, right, out of useful life, I should say. And then we may have other additional requests that's going to be coming throughout the year for microtransit. So you need to know that in advance. And Will has prepared a fleet plan to show you. So and we'll put this on your board portal as well. And you'll always have the information you need to know how the fleet is moving in and out of useful life, right? So that's going to be very important to any additional bands we may have to purchase for microtransit. And then you'll see just how we're holding steady on our buses and our contingency fleet and our spare ratio. And with that in mind, then I think we're ready for our operations report.
I'm ready.
morning, Board of Directors, Director Shaw. I'll be reporting out for operations. Operations report for the month of January is as follows. On fixed route, we have 69 full-time operators and 3 part-time operators, and we are 18 operators short. We have 16 operators in safety training, which the department is 80% staff and 20% vacancies. On the paratransit side, we have 31 full-time operators and 3 part-time operators. We are 7 operators short with 1 operator in safety and training. And that's 85% staff with 15% vacancies. On the microtransit side, we have 2 full-time operators and 9 part-time operators and 1 dispatcher and 2 supervisors. We have no operators in training, and for the month of January, we completed 2,626 trips with 148 of those trips with the airport. Our completion rate for January was 89%. We received a whopping 344 5-star rating for the month of January, and we are 61% staff and 39% vacancies on the microtransit side. On-time performance for fixed route was 59%. For the BRT, it is 84%. For the month of January on fixed route, we missed 930 trips due to absences and vacancies, which bring us to 94% of our trips completed. On the paratransit side, the on-time performance for the month of January was 74% on time and 26% late. But I want to bring some context to that 74%. For the month of September, we were 56%. For the month of October, 67%. For the month of November, 70%. For the month of December, 72%. And for the month of January, 74%. So we are trending in an upward trajectory with on-time performance on paratransit. And that's a highlight to the team that's doing a phenomenal job trying to improve. And we still have work to do, but we're trending in the right direction. As that concludes my report, and I'll be happy to entertain any questions. Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
So, are you still training paratransit drivers to get their commercial driver's license?
It's not a requirement to come in, but you do start at a lower rate if you don't have your CDL. But we're not training them to get their CDL. We train fixed route operators, but not paratransit.
And you remember, Director Davis, they used to be required here at BJCTA to have their CDL licenses, and because of the workforce shortage and the inability to get CDL drivers to operate paratransit, we dropped that requirement so that we could get more applicants for the paratransit department, because we weren't getting the applicants because they needed CDLs, and we were using them for fixed routes, so we were always at a deficit on paratransit. So we dropped that requirement. And I don't think we're gonna, I don't think the plan was to train the paratransit, but we do encourage paratransit drivers to, if they got a CDL, we stick them on the fixed route side.
I noticed,
for the driver to get it.
I guess microtransit compared to the fixed route going to the airport, I see the number has really increased.
Yes.
So, I mean, that's really good.
Couple questions. Since we're on micro-transit, could you describe and explain what the service area is, the service coverage areas? Do we pick up from downtown to go to the airport and vice versa, just so everyone can be on the same, so we can all have an understanding exactly what the coverage area is for micro-transit?
Okay, so the coverage area, as Director Shaw spoke of, we started a soft launch in Mountain Brook, but our coverage area is the East Zone over there in Woodlawn. But we do take customers from the East Zone, and they can go downtown. Now, you can book a trip, but you have to book it from Central Station to the airport. And we are exploring ways of points of interest along that route, hotels and things like that. But right now, you could book from here and go to the airport, and we are allowed to take our customers inside the airport and drop them off
Okay.
at the desk at the departing.
So we do come downtown, but it has to be here at Central Station, so.
Yes.
So what, I guess, what prevents us from, say, picking up from hotels in downtown area, the county, city hall? Is there a particular reason? I know y'all working on it, but can't, just for context, in the current state, what prevents us from doing it in the current state? Is it by design or the contract or?
But when we started, we're exploring now, and initially it was a data gathering when we went to the east, and as we're expanding and exploring and gathering more data, and that's going out to the hotels and seeing if it would be conducive to us to do that, and it actually is, but it's just getting with our partners with VIA and getting that solidified and speaking with them about it.
Let me add, there could be a budget restraint too, because the more that we add points of interest, it's gonna increase the budget, and we only have one vehicle running to the airport right now. And that's by design, because we only have one bus, and that we were able to take the bus off because the ridership was low in various segments, probably more segments than not. So when we start adding, and our intent is to add some hotels and maybe City Hall, but it's really gonna be dependent upon how much constraints that we're putting on the budget. So you can run one vehicle within the same, within a reasonable amount, but to run it to now points of interest means it's gonna increase the demand, and Nick will show you this, when it increases the demand, we got to run more vans, right? And we have to be cautious on the number of vans we put on some of these routes, because we don't want the zone too big and then we can't manage it.
We do still have a private service that takes individuals from their home to the airport, like an Uber service.
Yeah,
We still have that.
there are private services that still do that, you asking? Yeah.
We still do that.
No, we don't we don't have a private service, we have our VIP program, but that hasn't been launched at all, because we're still doing the business plan on that. We just did a soft launch on that just to see if there was some interest, and we know there is a lot of interest for the VIP private program, but Lynn and I are having to scope that out and build that out.
Well, I'm glad we cleared that, because I was under the impression, it was downtown Birmingham was within that service area for micro transit, but I think the sooner we can get some details back about the possibility of being able to pick up at hotels in Jefferson County City Hall, I think that'd be great for us. All right.
Sheraton Uptown, Sheraton and Uptown.
Sheraton Uptown as well, so, yeah.
And we're looking at that again, and we're looking at the budgetary numbers for those points of interest, because what will happen, and especially as events come in, that will inundate that particular route, right? And then what happens is we will have to add vans, and there's only a limited amount of vans we can add because of the budget. And we're gonna start preparing the public for an additional fee on microtransit, because it is a more superior service in terms of being on demand and zoned based. And so eventually that fee is going to have to go up, but it still won't be enough to accommodate some of the additional or an expanded zone, because the only thing will help at that point is adding more vehicles. And I think Nick will be able to show this a little more.
Sorry, got ahead of myself. Sorry about that, Nick.
This is a good conversation, because the board, we really do need to make sure that you all are aware and have the knowledge of this microtransit, because so many people don't realize that that we're doing microtransit. They still think VIA is doing all the microtransit, and that's not true. We are also partnering with VIA, and VIA is partnering with us, but we do some of these zones on our own.
Couple more questions, yeah. So, could you go back to the operations, the on-time performance, and just the one, the fixed route? I read one thing, but I thought I heard you say another percentage. Okay, it could have just been me, so I just wondered, could you just restate what the on-time performance for fixed route?
So fixed route on-time performance, now fixed route is combined BRT and fixed route, but we separate the on-time performance between the two, so
That's fine.
BRT is 84%.
Yeah.
And fixed route is 54%.
54 or 59?
I'm sorry, 59,
Okay, and that's your bus, our general buses, basically, right?
yes.
Okay, all right. And then when it comes to fixed route, 80% staff, 20% operators, you know, with 69 full-time operators, 13 part-time, and then with 18 short, which I know that's always, you know, I don't think we're the only agency, the only company that's dealing with, especially from transportation, that's dealing with shortages.
Right.
But what is our, you know, I know we have a plan in place, are we sticking to that plan, and how's everything going from a recruitment standpoint and training standpoint to make sure we have enough operators if we're, you know, or are we at a point to where we feel like the operators that we do have, even though we're 18 operators short, sounds like we're still able to service our coverage area, but I would imagine if we're able to get up to speed, that 59% will hopefully turn into 75% on-time
Yeah,
performance.
absolutely, and we are aggressively recruiting, and we have job fairs coming up, but everything still all aligns and circle back to our strategic plan with the 70-30 plan.
Okay.
So that's our future plan to address the operator shortage as microtransit come in and feed our bus system, but the 70-30 plan is also addressing that operator shortage as well.
All right. Any other questions from anybody from the board? Great, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And if you like, I can ask Kevin to come in and talk a little bit more about recruiting, HR director.
Yes, I would, I
Okay.
mean, personally, I would love that. I mean,
Can
I would
someone
love that
grab
personally.
Kevin out of the, Keisha's gonna grab him, we can talk about, and he's concentrating, actually, his background was recruiting. So he's talking, he can, he's building, he and Chief Walker, and unfortunately, Chief Walker is still, out, with a couple of extra days from the loss of her father. But, Kevin is working very closely with Chief Walker to, develop an actual program just for the drivers
Okay,
and the operators, because we know that that's really important. And I would like to, you know, I wish I could say it was getting better on a national level, but it's actually getting worse.
As far as the
Competitive,
the shortage.
but, you know, the good thing is that we just negotiated a new union
Yeah.
contract, which you'll hear more about in finance.
Yeah.
And that, the new union contract has a lot of good incentives in there to attract more drivers and technicians.
You know, going forward, I think that would be something that would be good for us to report on, is that, you know, compared to industry averages, compared to other, you know, agencies of our size as well as municipalities, you know, what are their, you know, shortages when it comes to operators, as well as what, if we compare it to the industry from an on-time performance standpoint, you know, how we compare it to industry competitors in other markets, and as well as the sizes of different agencies. So I think that'd be very helpful, because if we're tracking at 59 to 60% on-time performance, but we're comparable to the industry and our competitors. I use the term competitors, but you know what I mean. Then there's a justification why I understand it. But I think that would be nice to have comparative analysis when it comes to shortages and employment, especially with the fixed route, as well as our on-time performance.
Yes,
Yep.
yes, ma'am.
Yeah, did you heard the question in the other room? Did you hear the
I
question?
did hear the question. Yes, we are actively working with the operations department to recruit several of our drivers at the moment. We're working with Indeed, Alabama Works, and the local community and our marketing department to get the word out.
Gotcha. Okay. And while I got you here,
Okay.
another question.
Yes, sir.
Employee engagement survey. I know we talked about it before in the past. We've had some changes. Is that part of your long-term plan strategy from employee? Because I can't stress enough, I think, how important employee engagement surveys are. I mean, it speaks to the very culture of your organization and so forth and so on. So again, I would love to, we don't have to go into detail about it, but you know, is it on our radar?
Yes, sir, it is. As soon as Chief Walker gets back into the office, we're gonna sit down and discuss that a little bit further so that we have a timing for the rest of this year for an internal engagement survey. And then Trey can address the rest of it after that.
Good morning, Board of Directors. Yes, so we're looking at employee engagement surveys as well as customer engagement surveys. So those are two things we're working with an organization that we've partnered with in regards to those surveys. So you should hear more about that in the future, but that is something that we're currently working on.
You just had a meeting yesterday.
Yes, we had a meeting yesterday, right. Right, so you'll see, I don't know if you're online, you probably already see some things about the customer engagement. And that's going to be something that's ongoing. So it's all going to be done in stages. So right now we've started the customer engagement portion where we're surveying the customers, but there is an employee engagement portion to that also. And we had employee engagement surveys last year also. And so we definitely, again, will be employee engagement surveys.
Yeah, and with Remain, it's anonymous, right? The employee engagement surveys are
Yes.
anonymous.
Yes, that's right.
Great.
That's right.
And what's the follow-up gonna look? I think not just the survey, but the follow-up by managers.
Yes.
To address maybe certain issues or questions that their teams may have, because again, employee engagement is critical to the overall culture of your organization. And if we're gonna have an employee engagement survey and we don't do anything with the data, with the information that's provided, then what's the point? So.
Yeah, and the good thing about the survey, we are able to identify, so we don't ask names, but we're able to identify the departments in the area. So we can kind of go down to that level of each department saying what your employees are saying.
But are we responding to, are we actually taking into consideration
To give you an
what they're
example,
saying and addressing different things?
Absolutely.
Things that are, that are not outlandish, of course.
Right.
So.
And to give you an example, we had an employee survey when I first got here, and one of the things that they complained about was their ability to get trained. So we had training. That's when we went on the Bliss for training. We had Dr. Tate come in to give various training workshops that went over very well, and that is continuing. So another thing was they didn't know their progression or career path. So now we have performance-based evaluations once a year, and the supervisors and managers and directors sit down with them continuously with the employees to talk about career path and what that means for them to help develop them in their areas. So we take employee engagement. I have a team engagement town hall meetings twice a year for both administrative personnel and for operators and technicians, where I even hear their voices of concerns as well. So we take that very seriously.
Happy to hear that we're responding to it, because I really believe that helps with the retention as well. So.
My one question is that we had got an opportunity to partner with some people about CDL training. And I didn't know how far we went or how do we train our drivers at this point for CDL.
That's going to be
Good morning. The one opportunity we had with Jeff State, in their program, they were one of the only agencies that the state would allow to do third party. And theirs was mainly towards the A class, which consists of tractor trailers, whatever. So it was limited as far as what we needed. And even after they finished that program, they still have to come to us and we would do the bulk of the training and do the pass endorsement, which is basically doing the same thing over again. But we do have a relationship with ALEA, this Alabama Law Enforcement Agency, so that once we get our people trained and get ready for the test, they expedite testing, and that goes well. But right now, as far as the state goes, Jeff State and the school system are the only two systems that are allowed to do third-party testing, where they can test their own people, and then they just go up and receive a license after they finish with the testing. But we have little to no issues to as far as getting people trained and getting them to take the test and getting them through the CDL training process.
Great. So, we don't have any resolutions to consider today, so we can move on from that. Is there anything important we need to discuss, any additional department updates, so to speak? I know we've just had.
Yes.
Great.
All right, good morning, Board of Directors and Director Shaw. This morning I want to do a brief presentation about our fleets. As you will see in the slide presentation that is not available on the screen, but we should have handouts by this point. We have 4 modes of operation. They do have those? Yeah, yes, thank you. So we do have 4 modes of operation for buses. The first mode is our bus route mode. The second mode is our bus rapid transit mode. Our third mode is the paratransit mode. And lastly, the 4th mode is our micro transit mode. But today we're going to focus on the fixed route mode because it's a primary core portion of our business, and then we'll follow up throughout the year with the remaining modes. Now, our next slide is our transit bus fleet summary. As you can see, we have a total of 74 buses. 11 of those buses, those transit buses, belong to our VRT transit buses. The remaining portion belongs to our fixed route services. Now, from the top of that list, the 300 series buses, by the way, let me just say this, all of our buses are New Flyer buses. So they're the only manufactured buses we have in our fleet, which is a good thing because it helps us standardize our fleet, and that helps us get our technicians trained easier when it comes to maintaining the bus fleet. So our 300 series buses are our oldest series of buses. Those buses were purchased back in 2013. Those buses are 12 years old. We have a total of 27 in our fleet. They're the largest portion of our fleet, and by age and mileage, they are probably our worst performer, I can tell you that. So we can't wait to do a couple of things with that fleet. One is to, we'll reduce that size for now because they're gonna be eligible for retirement by the end of this year. So we'll have 27 buses eligible for retirement in that fleet by mileage and especially age. We have other series of buses, as you see down this slide, 600 series, those are our next youngest bus, or next oldest bus, I should say. The 1900 series buses, those were purchased in 2019. And as you can see, the further you go down that list, the younger the bus is. Now we have 40-foot buses and 35-foot buses. 68% of our fleet is our 40-foot buses, and 35-foot buses is, well, that can't be true. It should be 42% of our fleet. I see 68% twice, but that should be 32%. Now, we have 72 CNG buses. That's 97% of our fleet. The remaining 2 buses are battery electric buses. You'll see that series is 2120. We have 2 of those. They're 3% of our fleet. They're worth mentioning. They are approximately 4 years old right now. Next slide. And before we go to the next slide, you all see the life-to-date mileage, that average, that last column where we see average miles. As you can see, that oldest fleet, we average about 467,000 miles on that. That is worth mentioning when we get to our next slide. And then the 600 series buses and the 1900 series buses, both those are reaching our midlife program criteria. All right, so the transit bus fleet summary, when we talk about the next slide, you're gonna see 2 columns added to this slide. The number of buses, or actually 3, the number of buses eligible for midlife, that's the 3rd row from the right-hand side of the slide. As you can see, we have 0 eligible for midlife in the 300 series buses. But when we get down to the 600 series buses, where we have 12 buses eligible for midlife, and the 1900 series buses, where we have 11 buses eligible for midlife, now we can pull those buses from service all right? And midlife means they've reached half of their useful life. The full life of a bus is 500,000 miles or 12 years of age. Midlife is 250,000 miles, half of that's 500,000 miles, and 6 years of age. So that's where transit agencies have the right to repair these buses, overhaul them, using federal dollars. Right? And that's where we are. This is where we're gonna really compensate our operating budget, because now we can take capital dollars, which we do have, to update and upgrade this fleet. So those 23 buses that are eligible, we're gonna start that program this year. We've already met with vendors, we've already met with all of our stakeholders in the room. We met with Amanda from marketing, we met with Demi from grants, we've met with everybody because they play, especially procurement, they are especially crucial to us getting contracts in place, because it's gonna be a bit costly to restore these vehicles back to a light good condition, or what FTA says, a state of good repair. So we're gonna use this midlife program to really maintain the asset at a high level. And we wanted you to know that we're gonna be coming before the board, asking for approval for several contracts to get these vehicles restored. That second column from the right, which is the number of buses eligible for our extended life program, well, the FTA gives us dollars for that as well, to extend the life of a bus that has reached useful life. And the only caveat to that is we have to keep it for 4 years. But the good news is, if we are gonna keep them, and we will, we're gonna keep at least 3 of them to start, we could go ahead and get those buses extended by way of doing another overhaul or a mini overhaul if it gets to that. And that way we put another good vehicle back in service that we're gonna use for service. The other thing I like to mention, that last column, we have 6 300 series buses that have failed engines right now. What we would usually do is go ahead and get that engine repaired, and most likely we would add a kit to it, a cylinder lining kit, which means they tear the engine down, make it like new, or we just put a remanufactured engine in there, which is more costly, but it's more reliable and comes with a warranty if we don't do the work ourselves. So when we extend the lives of buses, most likely we'll use the least cost, which is a cylinder liner kit, which costs us about $11,000, including parts and labor to get completed. Versus if we put a remanufactured engine in, the engine alone costs $39,000 for just a remanufactured engine. If we want a new engine, it would cost us $50,000 to $60,000. So we tend to take the middle of the road on the midlife program, remanufactured engine, which we hope to get us to the 500,000 mile mark, or the 12 years of age. Extended life program would take the lesser route of the cylinder liner kit route, which means it costs us less, it'll restore the engine, and it should get us to the 4-year mark that we have to keep in mind with the FTA, not return that vehicle too soon.
So let me add, here, I wanted William to concentrate on a major midlife, so that we can extend the bus life, and we not have to worry about major purchases for bus, because we have other priorities in the capital plan that we need to concentrate on and extend the life of the buses. So you won't get a major request for new buses until around 2028. So I just wanted him to go through this, and we'll put this on your board portal as well, so you can refer to it as you get more resolutions in the future about the overhaul program. So you'll get, as he said, resolutions for that and microtransit. And then we'll come back to you on what we anticipate for fleet demand as we roll out the 70-30 plan for microtransit. Okay? So I wanted to make that clear.
Yeah, That makes sense to me. I mean, being proactive,
That's right.
to ensure that we have less buses, less of our fixed route buses in the shop and more on the road. And, you know, we don't wanna, you know, we don't do this preventative maintenance on it,
That's right.
right? The next thing you know, they're eventually gonna break down completely, and then we're in a situation where we're gonna have to purchase new buses. So I like the proactiveness going forward. To me, that makes sense, so.
Any questions?
I have one question. It looks like in 2028, we're gonna have 20-some buses that's gonna need replacing, right?
Well, that's our goal. Right now, we'll have to reduce our fleet size just a bit, because we never got back up to the pre-COVID ridership data that we had. So since we have less ridership, we have less routes being served, which means bus services were decreased. However, with our 70-30 plan going forward, we plan to implement services back into our fixed route mode, as well as BRT, and we should hopefully get back up to those pre-COVID numbers shorter as sooner.
And so really, you won't have that many buses, because remember, we got some good buses now that we can overhaul then. So we won't have to, you won't get to the end of that, those buses and say, oh, I got 20 buses. No, we can go through another overhaul program, right? And extend the life of all those great existing buses he just told you about. And then retire the ones that are coming out of useful life.
And one more point to that is we have a Thank you.
One last question. Just because I'm interested in knowing, the Series 2120, that's the BEB buses.
Yes.
What routes are those? Do we use, I mean, I know those, what routes are they effective?
20 to, let me follow back up with you on that. What's that route that runs by the Zaxby's over there? Like 20, that's the closest I can get to it. I'm learning the route.
Yeah, I get it, yeah.
But they have been out in service, and I think it's like 3,000 to 4,000 miles a month.
Gotcha.
I'll find
Yeah,
out.
so I guess the question is, because I'm in electric buses, right?
Yep.
So I'm assuming the route's probably more of a flat route versus a hilly route, just because of, I know we had some discussions about a year or so ago about how unfortunately ineffective they were when it comes to the routes that had more hills on, just because I guess they lose a little steam, and which can definitely impact our on-time performance. So is it more of a fixed route that these two buses are on?
Yes, I can say
That makes sense.
Yes.
We can get that from, Brittany, if she's in the other room, just let us know.
Alan Alan can tell us really quickly. 17. Route 17. Thank you.
Which is a flatter route, I would imagine.
It is.
Got it, okay.
One question. That was the first phase of electrical buses. The newer phases, have we checked them out to see if they would do better on?
Oh, they will. They absolutely will. We just don't have it in the budget to buy 2 more electric buses when we only have about less than 10,000 miles on our current electric buses. So that new generation, that first generation, unfortunately, is not the most efficient, but, you know, you don't have to wait till after useful life or either put them in a new bus or bus maintenance, in the contract, in the grant, which we don't know what discretionary grants are going in the future, but we do plan to, we've been including hydrogen buses versus electric. So it's just what strategy do you want? Do you want electric, or do you wanna go with the most greatest and latest modernization now, which is moving toward hydrogen? But we don't know how the current administration, what they're gonna be concentrating on. Is that gonna be electric? Is that gonna be hydrogen now? Or is it going back to, CNG and gas? So we just have to see where that benefit is gonna be to revise our strategy.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Appreciate your indulgence, so.
Good questions, thank you.